Europeans of Reddit, what do Americans have every day that you see as a luxury? You can pretty much choose to live in any climate you like when you live in the USA and still be in the same country. You like four seasons, move to the Northeast. You like humid ocean climate, move to Seattle. You like dry, warm weather, move to Los Angeles. You like deserts, move to Arizona. You like warm and humid weather, move to the Southeast. As a German who loves warm weather, I am always jealous because of those options. If I wanted to try to move somewhere warm, I would have to move to a new country and learn Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, French, Greek, or other Southern European languages. Space. America is fucking enormous. The massive houses, a special room just for your massive washer and dryer units, two-car garage, basically you have tons of space. The size of your homes in places like Utah and Texas, there's a dedicated room for everything. Kids' playroom that isn't the living room or the kids' bedroom, walk-in pantry room, a laundry room. Disability access everywhere. I can go to any place, theater, store, office, school, whatever, with confidence that I'll be able to navigate fine in my wheelchair. They'll have ramps and/or elevators. Free refills. Space, room, land. Backyards, I'd plant so many vegetables. Extensive national parks. Used to be 24-hour stores and restaurants. That went away with COVID. Big kitchens and big refrigerators/freezers. Even in my student apartment, we had a pretty good-sized kitchen. I was dating a Czech girl and her parents came to visit. When they went to my apartment for a dinner, the mom was just amazed at the size of my fridge. They were amused when I dumped the scraps in the sink and turned on the garbage disposal. They'd heard about it but had never seen one. Air conditioning. Americans pump it all summer long. The backyards and front yards, the size of the garages, the huge living rooms. Spacious hallways, corridors, and homes in general, dedicated laundry rooms, not a washing machine in the kitchen, apartment complex pools, and the regular washing of the windows of high-rise buildings. It's infrequent in Europe. The space. I'm a Canadian who just returned from a trip visiting Grand Canyon, Zion, and Vegas. Our last few trips were in Europe. As mentioned elsewhere, drink refills and plentiful bathrooms clean too were a nice change. The American National Park system just blows all others out of the water, including Canada's. I'm especially embarrassed about BC's provincial parks. People love to complain that tourists are gross, but the American parks were just as busy but actually had maintained facilities and people who, work to maintain the parks. I didn't see any TP on any of the trails in the U.S. Meanwhile, I have PTSD from Garibaldi trails last summer. The two most peaceful neighbors ever. Huge schools with labs and gyms and theaters. Free use of bathrooms. All types of climate and natural wonders in one country. You like mountains? Go west. Beaches? Most important cities are seaside, like cold regions. We bow Alaska from Russians some time ago. Desert? Got you covered. Canyons, waterfalls, geysers, forests. All in one country speaking one language using one currency. Winter fresh chewing gum. Haven't found a gum as good anywhere else. Houses and lawn space are ridiculously big. Like pointlessly big. I actually have a theory that that's why they all speak so loud. It's because they have to shout across 2 or 3 rooms by default. I'm Australian, but I will say the college culture. IDK if what we see in American shows and movies is true, but here in Australia, if you want to further your education, you go to a university after high school, you go to your classes and leave. There's barely any universities that are even sport-oriented, despite us being one of the greatest sporting nations. In America, it seems like they have so much pride and culture surrounding their colleges with big bands and such. Handicap accessibility. I required the use of a wheelchair for a few years. During that time, we visited Spain and Italy. It was an absolute nightmare trying to navigate public spaces. My husband made sure that our apartment in Rome had an elevator as it was on the 3rd floor. However, when we arrived, we discovered that there was 2 flights of stairs in order to access the elevator. We managed, but it was a very difficult trip for us. Wawa. My American husband always went on about it, how he'd love to just drive to Wawa. I never got it until we spent Thanksgiving with his parents. Bring Wawa to the UK, please. The sport facilities and high school movies. 10 Things I Hate About You, for example. It must be amazing and super cozy to play in those places with the whole school cheering on a Friday night, kissing the cheerleader after scoring a touchdown. In Europe, you play on some shitty random soccer field with a random team in front of 7 parents and 1 alcoholic. No connection to anything or any money invested in anything unless you play for the best team in the city. But by then, we are talking about the biggest teams that you see in Champions League and other European tournaments. And that's one 1,015 years old who plays for those teams. American here visiting Germany right now. I'm going to go out on a limb and say fuel cost. The station down the road here sell petrol for 1.75 euro liter. That's about $7. 20 gallon if my math is correct. For comparison, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and just paid $2.85 per gallon last week, which is about 0.75 euro liter. Gas is even cheaper than that in the Midwest U.S. Air conditioners. It's hot here in Spain. Edit. I'm referring RO, the type of AC that is like whole house AC. I have a window AC, and yeah, everyone has those. But I haven't seen many centralized AC units where I am. Should have been more specific, sorry. Real Mexican food. We have Mexican restaurants in my home country, but the owners are usually not Mexican, and it's just not the same. Now, I'm living in Japan, and it's the same problem. Mexican food is so delicious. Ice makers in the freezer. Free refills at restaurants. Free public toilets. There seems to be more nature in the U.S. For me, it's 3 things. How spacious everything is, like homes, roads, parks, etc. The low level of population density, how cheap gas and cars are. Salaries, not European, but my friends abroad are all flabbergasted by the salaries here. Their streets are always so wide, but here in Dusseldorf, I know many little streets where I have to vanish into a parking space when I'm on my bike and a car wants to pass, because otherwise they physically can't. Tons of bathrooms. My 2-bedroom apartment has just one of those. One of these days, my roommate will get the flu and I won't be able to escape it. I'm surprised no one has mentioned a nice shower. Not everywhere in Europe is the same, but far too often showering is a chore instead of a relaxing experience. Steak is way cheaper in USA.